This video is giving like, tell me you're obsessed with your tuxedo cat without telling me you're obsessed with your tuxedo cat. Got this, got 2 different types of earrings. And then can we get the tuxie in here? And then here's the tuxie. Hey, yeah, hello potatoes, it's Kato Potato and welcome back to another video. It's been a whole year since I got Fig. Yeah? I think he just thinks I have streaks right now. Yeah, I know in some videos I call him Figaro or Fig. He's named after the cat from Pinocchio. The one from Pinocchio has the whole white on his face and Fig has a shape on his face. He has a dick on his face and he can sometimes be a dick face, but I feel like I have really gotten to know him in the last year and I just wanted to share with all of you today, especially since I know a lot of people when they immediately get a cat, including me because I did this last year, they usually just talk about their cats as soon as they get them, kind of their origin story, all of that stuff. So last year I made the video when I immediately got him off the street and it was mostly about how I ended up getting him and the first vet visit and all the great like initial stuff. However, I think a year is a really good insight into kind of all of the different thoughts and emotions that you go through while becoming a pet parent and getting to really know your cat. That's why for Fruit Loop, I did hold off on making her first initial video until a few months afterwards, until I got really acquainted with her. So all that being said, here's been the past year with Fig. Now I went back and watched my last video just so I'm not recapping everything, especially from that first vet visit. So I took him to Banfield Pet Hospital, which is just the nearest pet hospital that was to me, and that was before I worked there. And obviously the vet could only tell me so much about the cat because I didn't have any prior records. You know, he was a stray. And so he just said he was a very anxious little guy and couldn't really examine him much as in-depthly as she would probably wanted to. She did give me an estimate about how old he is, which ranges from like 8 months to 2 years. I'm back a year ago, so probably he's around 2 to 3 at this point. She did note that first visit that he had like a little skid mark on his nose and a fracture on his tooth. And so I later found out that like the skin mark was actually from the way to the appointment. There was an idiot who slammed their brakes really hard in front of me, and so I in turn had to slam my brakes so I didn't get into an accident. But that did mean that Fig ended up flying into his carrier and like the mesh of the carrier like ended up skidding his nose. Thankfully that wasn't some sort of like infection or something that ended up getting worse, and it just kind of went away on its own. But with the tooth, it was something that the vet couldn't really look much into because of his temperament. He was pretty much marked as a bite scratch immediately, which is typical for cats. And she also mentioned that if he did need to have that tooth extracted, there wouldn't be a doctor there that's comfortable. So she referred me to another doctor at another Banfield that was a little bit further away to essentially have him examine him and see what needs to be done and everything. So I went over to him and he did say that the fracture looks closed, which means that, you know, it won't get easily infected. Probably was from him like fighting some cat on a tree and then ended up getting a little too nasty or something. But I did follow up with him recently about it as well, and it's still pretty consistent. And it's also a canine, which is very, very hard to remove because it's all connected with the jaw and everything. And if we were to take it out, it might cause more issues and might break his jaw and a whole situation. So it's just better to wait. And so I was like, that's totally fine. I just want to make sure that he's not in pain, which he's eating his food fine, so everything's still good. It's like a snaggle tooth pretty much. So the first couple of days I got him, he was very, very cuddly and was like all up in my armpit. Then he ended up kind of like doing his own thing for a little bit. He kind of like wasn't as affectionate after that first night. I honestly think it's because I flail around in my sleep and I probably kicked him accidentally at one point. So he doesn't like to like cuddle as much anymore, which is fine. He did sleep on the bed with me when I was at my old apartment, like in a little corner on a blanket. After that first night, he wasn't really that affectionate, which I won't lie was a little bit hard on me for a good bit because, I don't know, he was just like my first genuine, like my own pet. And I essentially equated affection with love. And I thought he didn't love me as his parent or friend or whatever I am to him, because of that. I thought he wasn't happy with me, and in turn, I was unhappy with him. Not to mention he like ripped up the couch that was in my old apartment, and it didn't belong to me, and I was just like, oh no. He would just meow a lot because he would only have to stay in my room because I had an apartment mate at the time, and so it just wasn't the ideal like pet scenario that I had in my head, to the point where I even considered like giving him away to a friend or even taking him to a shelter, just because I guess I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, which I should have probably done a little bit more research than to just be like, oh my gosh, it's a cat. But you know, I feel like it was real. There is a great video by Illymation, who they made a whole video about their cat Luigi when they first got them, and how she was kind of in the same situation I was, and it wasn't until that she gave him a chance that they really got to know each other very well. So I just kind of held off and really got to know him, and I realized that, you know, just cats in general, they have to come to you first. Once I kind of took a step back, Fig would come up to me and just ask for pets and be purring and all the good stuff. And I also don't know his history. I'm assuming he had an owner. He didn't seem like the type of cat who has been on the street for all his life. He probably was thrown out and was abandoned by his previous person. And that obviously is something that he probably had to build trust with a human. Like, I don't believe Fig would ever just run out of the house. Like, he doesn't seem like the type to run away. Like, I'll literally open the door in front of him and he just stares. He just looks out the door, and I've never seen that cat take a paw outside ever. It was important for me to do a good job of giving him the space that he needs to be the best that he can be, and in turn kind of bond that way. And so now he's literally the best kitty. And sometimes he's a dick face by like biting my feet and meowing at me to eat, but like he's just being a cat. I did want to include this part because I worked at Banfield for a few months, and I honestly think my relationship with Fig became a lot better once I kind of just generally understood a lot more things. Now I obviously know a lot more about like parasite prevention and vaccines against like certain zoonotic diseases, but the biggest part is now I feel like I know how to make sure it's the least stressful for him during vet visits, which is such a huge important part of it, because there's a reason why, you know, pets don't like going to the vet. Obviously it's because they have to stick a thermometer in their butt to get their temperature, but also just like this general temperament, especially for cats. It's really important for them to be the least stressed out, because a lot of times if they're just like sitting in a carrier, they're not going to be too happy. And so I ended up getting recommended a medication called gabapentin. GABA is used for pain and light sedation. I literally call them chill pills for him. He just becomes very mellow for a few hours. I give him one like the night before a vet visit and then a couple hours before. And I recently used it when I had a Halloween party and there were a ton of people over, so it's not that stressful for him to, you know, hear a bunch of noises and a bunch of people around and all that stuff, which ended up working really well because I knew that he would be like running up all over the walls if he was that anxious. I'm really grateful that I had really great doctors that I can you know, consult with them on everything. And that's including doctors I talked to before I worked there, and obviously I've established relationship with them while working at a vet clinic. They prescribed him the GABA after examining him and just thought what would be best. And then now whenever I take him for like vaccines and any of that sort, they have me hold him for exams, just because I'm more confident in holding him now and just being firm with him versus I'm sure beforehand I was just really scared and like about dropping a cat. And of course he's more familiar with me compared to other people, and so it's something that I feel like it's worked a little bit better in the past couple of visits when I'm the one who's handling him. There was at one point where Fig's primary vet and my personal favorite vet asked me to hold him while she does his examination and his vaccine. He was literally so mellow, and when I held him, and he was just like, and she was like, "Aw, you're a mama's boy." His most recent visit, he went in for a dental cleaning, which was a whole thing. He was sedated with anesthesia because dental cleanings are an anesthetic procedure, which when he was sedated, it was absolutely hilarious because he was just so out of it. But yeah, it was absolutely adorable. But during his cleaning, the vet told me that he had an anal gland rupture. And I was like, oh no, like how did that happen? And she was like, yeah, to express his anal glands. And I was like, I'll be honest, I didn't know you can express anal glands on a cat. But then while the vet was showing me like where the rupture was near his butt, a live tapeworm just like wiggled out of his butt. And I was like, probably ate fleas at some point. Like thankfully he didn't have any fleas on him. Like I probably was near a pet that had fleas when I was working, and then I brought it home without knowing, and you know, all that stuff. That freaked me out a little bit because he might have had like live tapeworms and, you know, eggs inside of him. And the third thing, he just pooped straight on the surgical table, and I was just like, dude, you are such a dick face. I had to have him get a praziquantel shot, which is a shot that eliminates all potential like eggs or other worms that might have been inside of him. I had to make sure that Fruit Loop didn't have it, and he's a whole handful, but at least he's better now. Last but definitely not least, I did want to mention that I got a tattoo for him, and you guys have definitely seen it in my videos throughout this year, and I'll dive into it a little bit more when I do my tattoo tour at the end of the year as well. I got a branch of figs on my right forearm back in February. Yeah, it was done by the lovely Emily at Wedding Tattoos, and my boyfriend pretty much got it from me as a birthday gift. It's supposed to symbolize like a family of figs, as like my little family. And you guys are probably thinking, why did you even get a tattoo for your cat? Like, he's a cat. But yeah, I mean, he's my first pet. Like, he's gonna be my first cat of all times, however many cats I get in the future. And I love him very dearly. And he's gonna stick with me until one of us dies first. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video all about Figgy. One more treat. It is your gotcha day / birthday, because we don't really know when his birthday is, so we're just saying his gotcha day is his birthday. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please make sure you give a thumbs up and comment down below if you have any kitties of your own. But yeah, subscribe down below for more interesting content like this, and hope you have a great day. Wishing you the best. Always, Cato, rolling it out.